Dear family members and classmates, hello everyone. Today, by the grace of heaven's kindness and the great benevolence of the Miaoji Grand Emperor, and through the compassion of the senior predecessors and predecessors, the compassion of the leaders and deputy leaders, and the compassion of all the transmitting teachers, I have this opportunity to join all our dear fellow family members in reverently reading the sacred teaching bestowed upon us by He Xiangu of the Eight Immortals. I often emphasize, we are the most fortunate group of people in this world. The Immortals and Buddhas truly do not merely care about us, beyond caring for us, they also protect us at all times. Invisibly they help us. The Immortals and Buddhas often come to the altar and open the sandboard, issuing sacred teachings that are precisely targeted at what we need, guiding us so that we will not stray too far from this Tao and virtue. So we are truly very, very fortunate. Since we feel so very fortunate, we must be very grateful, and even more so, very cherishing. So now, with a heart full of gratitude and joy, let us together reverently read the sacred teaching bestowed upon us by He Xiangu. We will begin from the descent poem. Please. The city wall and foundation are not built in an instant. A great and distinguished name is not established in a single day. Cause and effect do not appear out of nowhere. Virtue and accomplishment do not flourish overnight. All things come to be through gradual effort. All things are built through steady and continuous accumulation. Encourage yourself to refine and discipline your conduct. Diligently and faithfully walk the path each day, and the Tao will grow. He Xiangu compassionately explains, Yongji refers to the city wall and the foundation. This foundation does not suddenly appear out of nowhere, it must be built brick by brick, layer by layer. The foundation cannot be completed all at once. Even if you use prefabricated elements today, that is, making them in advance and then placing them at the right time, even with prefabrication, it still takes time, doesn't it? Even the molds for prefabrication have changed with the advancement of the times. They may have started out as wooden molds and gradually became paper-based molds. Although these molds change with the times, they still always require time. So the city wall does not suddenly appear out of nowhere, it takes time to be made, to be built. A great and distinguished name is not established in a single day. A very illustrious reputation. A very illustrious reputation cannot be made manifest in a single day either. It is cultivated and accumulated little by little, over a period of time, and then another period of time. Cause and effect do not appear out of nowhere. Cause and effect are the same, they do not manifest suddenly. It is because of what we did just now, or before, or even further before. Just now, yesterday, last week, last year, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, or even in a past life, or the life before that, at which point in time exactly? In any case, at some point before this, we planted a certain cause, and only at the right moment in time does that effect manifest. So the manifestation of cause and effect is not a sudden appearance, it does not appear all of a sudden. Next, virtue and accomplishment do not flourish overnight. This virtue and accomplishment, this great work, this great achievement, does not immediately become flourishing in a single day, it does not. It is also because of the many foundations accumulated beforehand that, when the right conditions ripen, it flows naturally and prosperously, like water reaching its course. Next, all things come to be through gradual effort, all things are built through steady and continuous accumulation. Whether it is the city wall and foundation, or the distinguished name, or cause and effect, or virtue and accomplishment, all of these come to be through gradual effort. Because there was effort made in the past, things are able to gradually manifest. We often say, Rome was not built in a day. The Roman Empire was also cultivated and accumulated over 1,000 years, and that is why it was able to span 3 continents. In this way, all things come to be through gradual effort. Whatever the situation, it is the same. Building requires constant accumulation and sustained enrichment. The method is to take it slowly, to keep stacking layer upon layer, little by little, accumulated gradually. Next, encourage yourself to refine and discipline your conduct. So since this is the case, we are therefore encouraged. How? We are encouraged to motivate ourselves, and then to advance and refine ourselves. To encourage ourselves to progress, to strive diligently. Li means to demand of yourself, to strictly require yourself to act. It may be somewhat demanding, that is unavoidable, isn't it? Although it is a bit demanding, all the same, the effort is not wasted. It can be continuously accumulated. Diligently and faithfully walk the path each day, and the Tao will grow. If one can diligently advance and refine oneself, the powerful force that follows will become even more evident. That is, by encouraging yourself to advance and refine, what manifests afterward will strongly and clearly emerge. Because there was encouragement and refinement in front, what follows can even more clearly and evidently be demonstrated and carried out. No matter what area, no matter what kind of work or project, whether it is something tangible, or something in the arts, or even AI today, it is all the same, it is built through continuous accumulation. So the great Immortal teaches us to diligently and faithfully walk the path each day so that the Tao will grow, so we must be diligent. Why is do added here? Because is being diligent for one day enough? No. It is necessary to often, steadfastly maintain this concept of diligence, this good everyday habit, and to carry it out steadfastly. Diligently and faithfully, day by day, improving every single day, and naturally the Tao will grow. In terms of daily life, in terms of cultivating the Tao, no matter which aspect of one's ability it is, it will all be able to manifest. If we stand from the position of learning the Tao and cultivating the Tao, this is even more so, no matter what kind of skill you are learning, the situation is exactly the same. Among the performers of the concert held by our Buddha Hall's Chinese orchestra, this year there is teacher Chiao, who passed the audition for the Singapore Chinese Orchestra. She has also been cultivating since she was young. Within our Buddha Hall's Chinese Orchestra, she has always been very earnest in cultivating and accumulating. She also went to study further, and has been continuously learning. After a very long period of time like this, she was finally able to pass the audition for the Singapore Chinese Orchestra. This is the result of her diligent day-by-day accumulation. So the concerto she performed this year is Dance of Fire. This is no simple feat. Because Dance of Fire requires both the soloist and the entire orchestra, both sides must be very refined and very much in coordination with each other. Because the soloist has the soloist's part that they are responsible for, and the rest of the orchestra has what they must perform, the content each must perform is very different from other pieces. So, is it only the orchestra accommodating the soloist? No. The orchestra itself also needs to be very well prepared in order to manage it. Because this piece of music is like two channels that must continuously move forward together, so both sides must be very refined in order to coordinate like that. So this too is the result of accumulation. In this regard, she was extremely refined, the orchestra was also extremely refined, and on top of that the conductor-teacher demanded very meticulous, very fine detail, so the performance was able to come out exceptionally well. The piece was superb, truly very beautiful. The other soloist is teacher Chen. He is the same, Chen Sui Xiang, a Arrow concerto. This is still a major work. One piece lasting 30 minutes. I said to him, "That is very brave of you, you really dare to choose a piece this big." I admire him very much. I feel he has great courage to take on the challenge. We were also very moved, very moved. So in a situation like this, how did he dare to choose this major work? It is precisely because he had substantial accumulation beforehand that he dared to take on this piece. So, diligently and faithfully walk the path each day, and the Tao will grow. Because there was earnestness in front, there was diligence, and a steadfast day-by-day cultivation, the Tao in that area will then manifest. And if we stand from the position of learning the Tao, cultivating the Tao, and carrying out the Tao, it is the same. Every week we listen to keys to open the lock of the heart. Sometimes we also feel that we did not listen clearly enough or understand well enough, or we might think, it seems like I could keep listening to more of this, so we do not only listen on Sundays. YouTube is also quite convenient, so we can click on a video to watch at any time. Just click on it whenever you like, and you can immediately listen, immediately review it again, and in that way further deepen your understanding. In a situation like this, by frequently listening to keys to open the lock of the heart, we cultivate our sense of the Tao, and in this aspect of cultivating the Tao we are also able to continuously progress. This is the descent poem that our He Xiangu has given us. The great immortal He Xiangu compassionately says, I am He Xiangu. She says, I am He Xiangu, one of the great immortals among the 8 immortals. By the decree of God on high, I descend into the Buddha altar. The great immortal says that God on high has dispatched her to come to the Buddha altar. In the descent poem it says, having first paid respects to God on high, this means that before the great immortal came to the Buddha hall, she had already first bowed and paid reverence to God on high, presenting herself before him. Then, I shall now offer further teachings. This means that following on from the descent poem just recited, the great immortal will continue to give us further instruction and guidance. With compassionate kindness, the great immortal, for the purpose of elaborating on the Tao teachings that follow, says that she will continue speaking to everyone, conveying to everyone some of the content that the great immortal wishes us to understand. We should understand that this is the spoken expression of the immortals and Buddhas. After she shifts into this conversational tone, she will then proceed to instruct us. So, please continue reverently reading. In navigating the world and cultivating oneself, turn inward and reflect. Speak with care, act with caution, and tread the path of goodness. Navigating the world and cultivating oneself means, while living in this human world, we must also cultivate and refine ourselves. So since we want to cultivate ourselves, we must turn inward and examine ourselves. In fact, there is no need to specifically talk about cultivating the Tao, every person needs to cultivate themselves. If we cultivate ourselves at home, the family will be more harmonious. That is to say, ordinarily a family is originally a very warm place, but between the members of a family there is also a mixture of karmic ties, even intricately complex karmic connections that exist. So sometimes when all the members of the family share very good karmic affinity, that is wonderful, everyone lives a harmonious and happy life. But if among our family members there is a mixture of complex karma, where not every tie is a good one, then sometimes it turns out that your family members need to be patient with you, and sometimes we need to be patient with our family members. So it all depends on the karmic connection between people. Alright, regardless of whether you are the one being patient, or I am the one being patient, or she is the one being patient, all of these are a form of self-cultivation. Furthermore, in a situation where the karmic affinity between everyone is not very good, if you won't be patient, and I won't be patient, and you won't be patient either, then our household will frequently have conflicts breaking out. So if we have good karmic affinity, that is very fortunate. But if the karmic affinity is not so good, then what can be done? It is the same for everyone, it must be changed through self-cultivation. So there are 2 kinds of turning inward to reflect upon oneself. The first kind is, I reflect on myself, I have not been very ideal. I was too impulsive just now, I am being too domineering right now, I am being too overbearing right now, so I need to change. Then what is the other kind of turning inward to reflect upon oneself? It is, protecting oneself with wisdom. When the karmic affinity is not good. That is, with the same words said, someone else can say them without any problem, but when I say them I get pushed back against, I get retaliated against. In more serious cases, some people experience domestic violence. In a situation like that, what can be done? One needs to learn to be wise. How? One must avoid it. Avoid those situations where you will be pushed back against. If our response, our way of handling things, will bring retaliation. And in more serious cases there are the kinds of situations just described, then we must learn to be wise, to protect ourselves with wisdom. How can we completely sidestep these undesirable situations? That is something we need to think through. So this turning inward to reflect, this self-cultivation, in navigating the world and cultivating oneself, turn inward and reflect means, in getting along with others and in refining yourself, first turn back and examine yourself. Do not start by blaming others. Speak with care, act with caution, and tread the path of goodness. We must be careful in our speech, thoughtful in our actions, act with caution. What does tread the path of goodness mean? It means to step firmly on the correct path, to walk the good path. Walking the good path means, if we are able to have good karmic affinity, that is very wonderful, very fortunate. But if what we face, what we are confronted with, is not very good karmic affinity, then we should learn from it and seize the opportunity to cultivate the Tao, seize the opportunity that comes with cultivating the Tao. Because since it is not a good karmic affinity, sometimes it cannot be resolved in a single day, it may take a period of time. But if we have the opportunity to seize that chance to cultivate the Tao, then we add to that diligent merit-making and virtue-building, diligent acts of goodness, diligent dedication of merit. When we encounter a situation that is not a good karmic affinity, then we must dedicate our merits, return what we owe to others, so to speak. That can reduce the intensity of those unfavorable circumstances, and also shorten the length of time that those unfavorable circumstances persist, and the karmic consequences will also diminish accordingly. So, speak with care, act with caution, and tread the path of goodness is extremely important. Next, without learning principle, how can the heart find clarity? Clinging to confusion only deepens worry and distress. Without learning principle, this means that if we have not learned principle, our hearts have no way of becoming clear. Because when we encounter so many things, why is that person like that, and why am I like this? Why is it, as just described, that when he says that same sentence nothing happens, but when I say it something goes wrong? If we have learned principle, we can understand that there is karmic connection at work here, and there is reasoning behind it that we have heard. After learning the reasoning, we will then understand, we will use principle to make sense of everything. Our own hearts and minds will be able to broaden, and wisdom will be able to open up. Otherwise it will be very painful, very painful. So we must learn principle. Clinging to confusion only deepens worry and distress. If we have not learned principle, we have no way of resolving things through principle. If the heart is not open, we will become even more attached, even more unwilling to accept. Being unwilling to accept brings even more suffering, even more distress, even more inability to work things out. Why is it like this? Why is it like that? Going around and around on that question of why. But there is no way out of that circle. Why? Because this is karmic connection. Those of us who have learned principle will use principle to resolve it, and then we will understand. Alright, so what is the first step? The first step is to first open the heart a little. Sometimes to suddenly become completely open-minded is not something you can just decide to do, but at least you can first open your mood a little, open the heart a little first, and then there will be space. With space, besides thinking about that why, there is also room to understand other things. And then even to say, alright, then let me quickly be able to speak with care and act with caution and tread the path of goodness, quickly be able to accumulate merit and build virtue, earnestly cultivate and carry out the Tao to resolve it. The more you resolve it, the more space opens up in the heart, the more space there is for understanding, and then the unfavorable karmic connection will gradually improve. Next, when righteousness and principle are sufficiently rich within, wise discernment arises. Distinguishing good from evil, telling the real from the false. Because when the principles and standards within our hearts are sufficiently enriched, they can give rise to wisdom in us, and that wisdom can then allow us to distinguish good from evil, allow us to discern what is real and what is false. In this way, we come to understand what is real and what is false. Once we understand, alright, then we will know. Since this is the situation, beyond accepting it, on the one hand I am not passive, I am not simply accepting things in a completely passive way, at the same time I am very actively carrying out the Tao, actively accumulating merit and building virtue, actively dedicating merit, and in doing so being able to shorten the time. Shortening the time also reduces the karmic consequence accordingly. Next, without learning propriety, how can one's conduct be upright, wrongly creating sins and transgressions, with no end to what must be atoned? This means that if one does not learn propriety, how can a person's behavior and bearing possibly be upright? How can that be right? For example, just now when my hand touched the armrest of the chair on my right side, I immediately knew I was sitting too far to the right, my position had drifted too far to that side. So I quietly shifted a little to my left, just like that, and that would put me right back in the center. That is just a perfectly fitting little example. This propriety is the standard for how a person conducts themselves in the world, the sense of appropriate measure and self-restraint. In the same way, we have all kinds of etiquette, all kinds of proprieties. Originally there is propriety toward oneself, propriety toward others, toward family members, toward colleagues, toward fellow members, toward superiors, toward subordinates. It is all the same, none of it can be separated from propriety. Toward the general public it is the same, this propriety is needed. What happens when you are courteous toward the general public? It is a very safe thing, and it is also a very friendly thing. Acting this way. Being respectful toward elders is one's proper duty, and being courteous toward the younger generation and toward subordinates, that is nobility. It shows that this person has cultivated themselves, that is nobility. Being courteous toward the general public, that is a form of safety, and also friendliness. So without learning propriety, how can one's conduct be upright? This shows that learning propriety, having good manners, the spirit of propriety is placed within the interior. It is the keeping of a respectful heart. What manifests outwardly is the fundamental appearance. Propriety will have measure and restraint, and a person's behavior and bearing will be upright. And what happens if one does not learn propriety? Wrongly creating sins and transgressions, with no end to what must be atoned. This means one does not even know that one has made mistakes. I don't know. Because I have not learned propriety, I have not learned etiquette, so I do not know that I have committed wrongs. And because I do not know, I keep continuously committing wrongs, then how are they to be resolved? They can never finish being offset. If one has not learned propriety, one does not understand restraint, and it becomes easy to do wrong things and create karma, and in the end one must still bear the consequences oneself. So one should learn propriety, shouldn't one? And so the great immortal is compassionate. So we must learn propriety. Continuing, from sweeping and responding to others, to speech and conduct, all must be attended to, broadly learned and restrained by propriety, one establishes oneself. This is saying that the basic things, sweeping and cleaning, responding to and interacting with others, these are foundational. Toward those in our home, toward the general public, speech and conduct must all be just right. Broadly learned and restrained by propriety, one establishes oneself. This means after learning broadly and extensively, using propriety to constrain ourselves. We ourselves are able to stand firm, to establish a standard. To be able to stand firm, first there is what was discussed earlier, learning the Tao's principles, and then the second thing it calls on us to do is to learn etiquette, to learn proper conduct. We are grateful for the compassionate teaching the great immortal has shown us in this descent poem, and for instructing us to learn the Tao's principles, to learn righteousness and principle, and also to learn proper conduct and etiquette. We will pause our reverential reading of the sacred teaching here for now, and we will continue in the next session. Thank you.